Melissa here from Girl Gone Fishing, and I'm back up here at the Strictly Sail Kayak shop in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they have very graciously allowed me to use their garage to work on my Lynx and get ready for the season because it is about 20 degrees and snowing outside. So I spent yesterday scrubbing off all the residue from all my patches over the last couple years, and I'm going to start fresh. So I'm getting ready to do some patching, and I'll bring you guys along. All right, Steve, what are we using here?
Little equal amounts right here. You mix that up. I always try and go from the outside, moving it in. Because if you don't mix it up right, you're toast. It just gets gooey, which is not good. So you just keep going inward. Like that, and I go like that. Stir that up really well, and then I always like to try and move the whole thing over to a new spot. And then usually I mix it up and I throw that, and then I got a new little stick, mix it up again. And you're just trying to make sure that you get it mixed up well. And you can use little tiny cups too, but I've never really had a problem doing this either for that matter. Just make sure you mix it up well. If you're working with like a 30-minute epoxy, you can let it sit there for a little bit more. 5-minute epoxy, you don't really want to let it sit much. If you get this stuff on here while it's fairly quick, it'll flow out a little bit, but 5 minutes, you don't have much time to do much with it. You don't really want to overbuild it too much here because we're going to put tape right over this thing.
So now that we've given it a few minutes for the epoxy to dry, we're going to try putting tape on the edges, sort of in the way that Burley Pro bumper works in the front, but we're going to try to put it all along the sides as a protectant layer to just keep the kayak from getting those little dings. What we're using this time is this Gorilla waterproof tape. It's different than the regular Gorilla tape. It's a little heavier, comes with a backing. It feels more like rubber. So we're not sure how it's going to bend and flex over the curve of the kayaks, but I've got the help of the great Steve Tacy here, and we're going to figure it out. Let's see how it works. So the first thing we did after doing the epoxy and letting the epoxy dry was Steve said we needed to sand down the rough spots for the epoxy, kind of like, you know, was a little mounded. So we sanded all that off, and now he is wiping off the grit with some denatured alcohol so that we have a nice smooth surface to try to affix the tape to, so that it is a waterproof like connection, so it bonds in a waterproof way. It looks like it's really great. All right, so the guys had this great idea here to put electrical tape down so that when we put the tape on, it looks like really straight and kind of professional. If I had just done it, I would have just smacked the tape on there, but these guys know what they're doing here, and they're gonna make my Lynx look nice. So this is what that Gorilla tape looks like. It's got a backing, it's nice and thick. So we've got the one side done, now we're gonna stretch it out and do it on the other. So we perfected our technique on the first side, and what we realized is you have to have someone to hold the plastic backing as it peels off, because if that plastic backing touches again once you peeled it off, you pretty much ruined that part of the tape. So my very important job here is to pull the plastic backing out of the way as Steve very professionally applies the tape to the kayak. Now we've got Tyler down here, whose very important job is to keep the tape stretched taut so that it doesn't get caught on itself. When this stuff says on the box that it bonds permanently, I don't think they're kidding. So now that we have the sides protected, there's a spot right up here where the Burley Pro bumper doesn't quite come back far enough for where I seem to drag my Lynx up the boat ramp. So we're gonna layer some of this extra pieces of tape and just create our own little kind of guard there. And see how it does. All right, we have this taped up, and now it looks like I have racing stripes on my Lynx. So this is that Gorilla Tape waterproof, different from the regular Gorilla Tape. We layered it up here, and Steve put a little epoxy here just to seal, because it's not really supposed to go on something kind of textured like that. So from now on, I'm gonna have 4 things in my Lynx travel repair kit. I'm gonna have the waterproof Gorilla Tape. I'm gonna have this T-Rex waterproof tape. I've got the JB Weld epoxy, and I think this is probably what I'm gonna rely on a lot. Steve said this is like a nice putty, so it's not as messy or as involved as the epoxy. So between these 4 things, if I do get a little dent or ding in my Lynx on the road, I'm just gonna patch it up and be ready to head on to the next one. No big deal. This is such a small price to pay for the amazing quality of this Hobie Lynx and the fact that it gives me the ability to get out there on the Bass Trail and compete. I can't tell you how happy it has made me to have found this sport and met some of the amazing people that love this, like the kayak fishing as much as I do. So I think this is a perfect solution for adding a little protection to the bottom of my Lynx without adding a lot of weight to it, because being lightweight is what's really important to me. And I think it's ready to flip over and get set up for the tournament. So thanks so much for watching, and check out Strictly Sail Kayak for your kayak and accessory needs.